You're listening to Fire Ecology Chats, a podcast series by the Association for Fire Ecology.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bob Keane. I am the editor-in-chief of the internationally renowned journal Fire Ecology. Fire Ecology is a journal published by Springer, but overseen by the Association for Fire Ecology, or AFI. Today, we're going to be talking about an incredibly interesting paper, or especially interesting to me because I just love fuel. And the name of the paper, or the title, is This Duff? Long-Term Prescribed Burning Effects on Litter and Duff and Pine Flatwoods of the Southeastern U.S. And today we have Nuria and Melanie to talk about this. Nuria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Nuria. I am a forest researcher currently affiliated with the Institute of Natural Resources and Spatial Planning of the University of Oviedo in Spain. And this research was carried out during the time I spent in the US, working as a postdoc first at the University of Idaho as a visiting scientist at the Rocky Mountain Research Station in Moscow, Idaho. Mostly what I do is studying fuels and trying to understand better how they are distributed over the forest so we can better create maps and other tools for managers.
You're in Spain right now, correct?
Yes.
Well, welcome to Fire Ecology Chats. Melanie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Bob. Happy to be here. My name is Melanie Taylor. I'm a postdoctoral research scholar with the Center for Geospatial Analytics at North Carolina State University. And at the time this work was carried out, I was an ecologist with the USDA Forest Service Southern Research Station.
Well, welcome both of you to Fire Ecology Chats. I really appreciate your time that you're going to spend with us today. This paper especially caught my eye because I really like fuels. And it was one of my job as an AFI editor-in-chief is to make sure that Fire Ecology is a journal for wildland fuels because we believe wildland fuels are the key or the linkage between fire behavior and fire effects. So, Nuria, can you give us a small little summary of what this study is all about?
Yes, the study mostly tries to better understand how dead surface fuels, mostly litter and duff, are accumulated over the forest floor in pine flatwoods of the southern U.S. that has been under prescribed fire for a long time. And we were mostly looking into identifying main drivers, such as if the fire return interval, the above ground biomass, and other factors could have an influence on what we see on the forest floor.
I love the title, Melanie. Is this such an existential kind of foray into wildland fuels? Can you tell us what is that?
Yes, that's a great question because there's lots of confusion out there regarding what duff is. And duff essentially is partially decomposed organic matter. Soil scientists would call it the soil organic horizon, and it is decomposed litter that is not quite litter and it's not quite mineral soil, but typically it exists in the soil profile between those two. Actually, the confusion surrounding what is duff is part of the reason why the title contains the question, is this duff? Because oftentimes when you're in the field with foresters, technicians, you'll be approached with a handful of debris or soil, and it will follow with the question, is this duff? So the co-authors, Matt Callahan and Joe O'Brien, thought it would be really funny if this question made its way into the literature, and we were glad to see that happen with this paper.
Duff is a huge, important aspect of an ecosystem. And it's really important that we actually address it. So, Nuria, as I read the paper, I was really stunned about the study site and what makes it so special. Can you talk about that?
Yes, so this study site is located, is an experimental forest that is at Osceola National Forest in Florida. And what is special about it is that this is one of the longest studies on fire return intervals that has been running since 1958. So it's a unique place to study how fuels are distributed based on that fire return interval. So the site has 4 treatments, like one is burn every year, 2 is burn every 2 years, and another every 4 years. And there is a control and unburned treatment where there has not been burning since 1958. So I think that makes it unique.
Very unique. 60-year record with frequent burning is incredible. I was stunned by that. So, Melanie, can you give us a little sneak peek of the results for the duff?
Yes. Well, interestingly, what we found was that longer fire return intervals had higher duff loads. So the treatments were 1, 2, 4-year fire return intervals and unburned. So we're seeing really high duff loads in the 4-year and then especially in the unburned plots. We found that prescribed fire actually produced duff layers that are denser and more compact. So it seems like prescribed fire over a long time period is actually altering the physical structure of the forest floor. So that was super interesting.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And Nuria, you want to add on to any of these results?
Yeah, so besides that, we also assess how litter was also distributed, and we evaluated things such as what is like the influence of basal area and trade neighborhood on the different times since fire. And also we found like we might see difference whether we are talking about pine needles or mixed litter, and also regarding how often it has been burned. So yeah, I would say that's mostly the main takeout.
Very interesting. And all the results are really interesting on how you would actually use them in the management of these Eastern U.S. pine systems. Melanie, what are the management implications of the study?
Well, this study in particular has huge management implications, and that's because of, in particular, the long time period, 64 years of maintaining these prescribed fire treatments. And that's huge to provide management an idea of what is the trajectory of these forests that we're applying prescribed fire to. So in particular, the results from this study are really important for helping to predict fuel buildup in forests under prescribed fire treatments or unburned. And they're really important for planning for smoke management, which is super important in the areas of the Southeast where we're applying prescribed fire. And they're really important for predicting the risk of having these smoldering duff fires in areas that have been unburned for a long time.
Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. What a great study. Nuria, do you have any co-authors or funding agencies you'd like to recognize?
Sure, yes, of course. I would like to thank you, all the co-authors that are not here today, such as Andrew Hudak from the Rocky Mountain Research Station of the U.S. Forest Service in Moscow, Idaho, and Matt Callahan and Joe Bryant in the Southern Research Station also of the Forest Service. We would like also to thank everybody who participated in the field data collection and helped that process, especially to Craig Chapman, and to all the forest managers and everybody who has maintained a study for so long that now we can actually go there and evaluate and understand better how all these processes are working in the ecosystem.
Those fire managers that do that for that long, God bless them. That's a great management effort.
That partnership is huge between the research stations and the fire managers on the Osceola National Forest, just a partnership that has endured over decades. So a huge shout out to those people down on the Osceola.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining us today on Fire Ecology Chats. I would like to tell all the listeners that there is a lot more information that we didn't talk about today that's in this paper. And if you want to read about it, you can download it for free. These people today have paid the freight for you to go and read all about it for free from our journal because we are an open source journal. So please, if this interests you today, please download that paper and read all about what is duff and the southeastern pine forest. And with that, please tune in to the next Fire Ecology Chats.
Thank you for listening to Fire Ecology Chats, a podcast series by the Association for Fire Ecology. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to our show and leave us a review. To learn more about fire ecology and support our future work by becoming a member, visit fireecology.org. FireEcology.org.